Sometimes like all you want to do is run. Hear me out, hear me out. If all the things you never show, there are the things I want you to know. Secrets start in your heart to slow. But if you don't want to tell me now, I guess I'll never know. Losing almost all my energy. It's getting hard to talk to you, and I'm the only one who speaks. It's all the things you never show. There are the things I want to know. Secrets start in your heart to slow. But if you don't want to tell me now, I guess I'll never know. Here we go.
Okay, yes, here we go again. Anyways, welcome to the live, you guys. I gotta really change my Streamlabs thing. It keeps saying Love Sunny and Adam at the bottom of it.
Yes,
I don't know.
yes, it does.
Yeah, I guess that would require me to go to my Streamlabs and change a few things. Probably that. Yeah. Okay. Anyways, I like
Hi,
I keep
Sharon.
I like that. I'll be Frank. It reminds me of Frank Meister. I'm not sure if it is or not, but anyways, I like that name. I'll be Frank. So it's kind of like a two-sworded thing. I'll be Frank and I'll be frank with what I'm saying. Hi, Sharon Parker. How are you? Whoops, there it goes. And so again, for anyone coming in, I'm Sunny, and that's Charmaine below. We're both from British Columbia, Canada, over at the West Coast side. Obviously, Nova Scotia is the Maritimes, and they're like a 4-hour difference time-wise from us on the other side of Canada. And this is a very heartbreaking case that we're going to be going over again today. But first and foremost, hi, True Crime Housewife. How are you? So if you guys, again, don't mind anyone coming in, please hit that like and the share button for Lily and Jack Sullivan. Keep their story out there, of course, because we always know that things start off lots of times on a high end, and then they sometimes, drift off as time goes on a little bit. But again, very sad case because they don't believe that the children are alive, and I think a lot of people do not as well. But we're going to get into that in a minute. First, I want to take this moment to thank my husband for coming home to my booster juice. Do you guys have booster juice over in the United States? Is it out of? I'm not even sure where booster juice is out of. If it's a Canadian line or if it's American, I'm not really sure, to be honest with you. I have to Google that. But secondly, Charmaine, I want to thank you for my wonderful gift. So Charmaine sent me this for Mother's Day, and it came yesterday, and it got this beautiful purple mug, not mug, or what do you want to call these? What are these things called? And tumbler,
I think.
and it says sometimes you forget you're awesome, so this is your reminder. To be honest, Charmaine, I really actually don't forget that I'm awesome. It's very rare that I actually have those moments. But when I do, Charmaine, I'll remind myself.
All you gotta do is.
Yeah. So
Pardon?
beautiful. Hey, what did you say?
What did you? I said. Then all you have to do is grab the cup on those rare occasions.
Right. Exactly. That's like forgetting that I'm not sunny either, and I'm moody or cloudy. Doesn't really happen too often either. But anyway, so there's some. My husband, he likes lavender, so he already took out the candle for himself out of this on there, and so there's like soap and some bath salts, I guess you want to call them, in there. A couple bath salts, and I think this is bath bomb as well, sitting there. On there. So thank you very much, my friend. Appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Yeah, and beautiful box on there as well.
That's why I picked it, because of the box, actually. I love the
You know,
box. Yeah.
I was gonna say I know, right? Like usually when I pick out things for people, like honestly, I mean, it's if I visually think it looks cool, typically. But to be honest with you, when I walked in the lobby, right, because I live in an apartment, and so when I walked in the lobby, everyone always checks to see whose packages or whose, and I seen this one, and it said S Austin on it, right, and I'm like, S Austin, that's weird. All my packages from Temu and Amazon always say, like Sunny Austin, Sunny and Steve Austin, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh, so when I got upstairs, I was like, so I was thinking actually it was a mattress cover that I ordered because I ordered two of those. And then all of a sudden, so I was thinking, oh, perfect. Cat just pissed on the bed. Husband had already taken off the sheets. Good. I'll put down the freaking mattress cover. Then I was like, wait a second. Wait, Charmaine said she was sending me a gift that was coming today, hence why it said S. Austin on it. Anyways, thank you so much, you guys. All right, so we're gonna, of course, we're gonna start off to be Melissa. That's American Justice Channel, Melissa, who was on this channel a lot. We were covering Delphi and Sebastian Rogers and that. So just to give her biggest hug, she's of course still has her health issues going on and stuff like that. So, anyways, Melissa, I love you, mwah, miss you. See you soon. I asked her actually if she wanted to join us on the live, but she's just not feeling too well. And I, I, I didn't like. Meaning, I just put it out there. If she was up to it, I just didn't want to leave her out in case she was feeling left out and stuff like that. But I just, she's not, the best health wise at the moment. So, Melissa, biggest
She'll come when she's ready, when she's feeling better, and I'm sure it'll be soon.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Andrea Werrell is from Saskatchewan, Canada. You know what was funny? When I was watching Jelly Roll on his documentary that he was doing, he's on American Idol and part-time there. Anyways, they kept saying, it was so funny listening to them. It was almost like the new word of the day was, and they kept saying it like this. Saskatchewan, and they kept repeating it over. So even when they were in a different province, as the tour was going on through Canada for Jelly Roll, you could hear them even in a different province going, Saskatchewan. Been there, been to Saskatoon.
Fun word to say, isn't it?
What did you say?
Said it's a fun word to say, isn't it? Saskatchewan. And then there's a movie, I can't remember what movie it was, Saskatchewan or something. It was funny, but it was an American movie, obviously. But, yeah.
Actually, it was quite funny when my husband said, my husband's from England, for anyone that doesn't know. He's from England, and he goes, yeah, my dad wants to come out here once because he wants to go to Hope where Rocky was filmed. Just to go to the bridge that Rocky was on, and I'm like, is this kind of like a lot of people that don't have the Northern Lights, like it's almost like my husband, like that was his thing, that he always wanted to see the Northern Lights. And I'm like, but for us, it's like, like there they are, there they are again. Yeah. Especially for you over in Alberta versus more BC here. But when you're in Alberta, obviously, especially when you're up north, beautiful. Northern Lights, absolutely gorgeous. It's like dancing sky, dancing green sky. It's cool. Definitely cool to watch.
I actually saw the Northern Lights here, just like through the mountains, like over the lake. I saw last year, and it shocked me because I didn't know that anyone else that wasn't like far north got the Northern Lights. And so when I saw them, it was breathtaking. Just as breathtaking as it's when I'm home, but
yes. First time I saw them, I think, Charmaine, I was about 19. We were heading up to Fort McMurray, and I looked up in the sky, and I was like, "Whoa, what the heck is this?" And
what is going on?
Yeah, because at that age, it's not like you got computers and all this stuff to know that there's these Northern Light things. And so, it was so breathtaking. It just reminded me of the sky dancing, and it's just swirling and dancing with colors, and it's just gorgeous on there. But anyways, Hey everyone, again, welcome to It's a Crime and Shame. I'm Sunny, that's Charmaine. Again, we're out of British Columbia, Canada. We cover cases mostly in the United States, and we have covered some Canadian cases like the Pictou farms and cases like that. Doesn't matter. We've covered cases in England as well. To me, it doesn't matter where you're from, as long as the cases are getting covered. You know, I'm putting the awareness out there regardless. So it is nice to see that this case was picked up very well in the United States, especially so many people covering it, like just oodles and oodles of people covering this case. And that's exactly what you want to happen. You know, it's not about
Yeah.
selfish and trying to get whatever. It's just bringing awareness to cases. But it is nice because we don't have a lot, like, you know, we have stuff that goes on, but nothing usually that typically makes it out as like this case in a sense. Like certain cases do along the way, but they're rare. Our population is like 35 million basically, so we got a lot of land, a lot of trees and stuff like that, but we don't got a big population going on. But so before we get started into Lily and Jack Sullivan's case, we're going to of course bring Sebastian Rogers. If you're not following this case whatsoever, Sebastian Rogers disappeared last year on February 25th was the last time that he was seen. Again, it's kind of parallel to this case in many ways. That's how you deem this case. For instance, with Sebastian Rogers, the father, this biological father, Seth Rogers, is actively always searching, talking, bringing awareness to his son's case. It hasn't stopped. He is like the voice for his son. Now, the mom, the biological mom that Sebastian Rogers lived with, and the stepdad are kind of like one of those things is that when you have to pull teeth to get a story and the appearances are few and far in between, and it's just, you know, when it doesn't seem right and it doesn't smell right and lies are coming out and inconsistencies and stuff like that. Sebastian Rogers, again, who lives in a rural community, but there's no video of him leaving his home. There's nothing. There simply is nothing. So Sebastian Rogers' case has been over a year now. Again, he's high level, you know, autistic, and yet very bright, very smart. Everything that a child wouldn't have done seems to have done in this particular case, according to the parents. Not so much the biological father, but according to the parents where he was living, the stepfather and that. And it's one of those cases that make you really shake your head because it's just so inconsistent with what they're saying and the lies. And why do you have to lie and make a mockery of a case and go on lives? And the stepfather is a narcissistic personality. You know, those narcissists that literally listen with their mouth, but then they forget that they say things and they said things differently here. But the only time that basically the stepdad talks half the time is when he's defending himself or defending something that's being said about them. It's not so much about Sebastian. It's always about them. And to me, it's like very transparent that something happened to Sebastian. But the thing is that there's no leads or nothing to show what happened. I certainly hope that this isn't the case with Lily and Jack. As for this case, on tonight's live, of course, there was that brief update that was given the presser. We'll go through that very quickly. It's not very long. Then I want to play a video by someone that has a new YouTube channel that I was watching the other day. Somebody, I think she calls herself, what did she call herself? The Prime Minister of Behavior. And most people probably wouldn't have seen this one because it's a new subscription or a new channel basically. But I noticed that Grizzly True Crime said, I'm here present. So it must be someone that obviously goes into Grizzly True Crimes, or perhaps is someone that they know each other more on a personal, more level. But anyways, we're going to watch that to see what she says as well about this interview with the mother. Every time I listen to this interview with the mother, and that's Malayla Brooks Murray, there's always something else that I pick up in that I just don't like what's being said. Now, Granted that there's nobody that's been charged in this case. In fact, we don't know what happened to the children as of this point. But the RCMP and the Major Crimes and Forensic Investigation Unit do not believe that the children are alive. They do not believe that they've been abducted. They don't believe that the children are also in the woods, because that's why they scaled back. They've said that clear as day. So basically, this seems like it's turning into a different type of it, like a recovery investigation of these children. Sadly, this is horrific. I hate talking about stuff like this, because especially when the chances of this being a happy ending at all is so nominal. And it just breaks my heart that we have to sit here and talk about these things or these cases. But again, speculation, absolutely. Her interview is really bugs me. It really, really, really bugs me. If I was to say, and Charmaine, I'm sure you have yours too, but so far for me, I must say that her interview is probably one of the what I would deem as the worst interviews that, well, you know how Orrin and Orson, how the adoptive parents, they're just standing there and you just don't believe them. Barry Morphew, he talks, Chris Watts, and you just don't believe them at all. And that's kind of how I'm feeling here, especially with the mother on this one. I'm just, it's just too scripted. The way that she says it, the emotions that don't match with it, everything about what would you think is your worst interview that you've ever saw on the cases that you followed? Who would you deem as your worst kind of interview where they're doing it about their child missing, but it's really them?
Before this one, in my opinion,
Or do you think
Sebastian.
it's this one?
Well, this one for sure. And I mean, let's be honest. I think that if it wasn't for Mom's interview in this case, it wouldn't have caught on. It wouldn't have been grabbed up by all of the creators, and it wouldn't be getting the coverage if the mother had given a heartfelt, honest interview. I think everybody still would have been paying attention, but I don't think it would have spread like it did. So, and I'm not saying that it's a good thing, but I think that for everybody is the most suspicious part of this entire case, because just like Sebastian's case and Letitia Stock, it begins and ends with the last person that saw the kids.
Right. Yeah.
Period.
Yep.
And I don't believe that they knew that Lily was popping in and out of the bedroom. I don't believe that.
Right. I know there's certain little pockets there. There's
a number of times on different days.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that might have been a common thing, but I'm having a really hard time believing May 2nd is the day.
Yeah. I get it. Absolutely. So so let's just go quickly over the press conference, and then we're going to watch Malaya's video there, her interview. And then we're going to go to Sadie, the Prime Minister, what she called herself again, the Prime Minister of Behavior. I like a few things that she said. I didn't actually watch the whole thing because it was, I think it was like, I can't remember, before a live or something like that. And I because it was like 22 minutes long, but like I said, I don't think a lot of people have seen it. A lot of people are watching True or Never Word, Deception Detective and stuff like that. And anyone that you are watching really has an issue with this interview. And honestly, to me, it's for good reason. Again, we know that the other night that she popped on, added 4 friends to her Facebook account, and then, popped off, and then put herself as single, and then popped off. Someone I noticed put a picture of the biological dad, or what they believe is the biological dad. Chances are that picture is of the biological dad, but it's not confirmed, right? And so I don't really like to put people's faces out there when I can't confirm it myself. So I don't really care. I think her name was Shantrika Speaks or something like that, or Shanika, whatever it was, Shanika Chachara Speaks. But anyways, basically it was said that picture came off of, which would be Cody Lee Sullivan, which is a biological dad. It would have been off his grandma, which is Belinda Gray, that it was from her Facebook or whatever. But again, she closed down her Facebook for the most part. So I just don't really like to put out people's pictures unless I can confirm them myself, that actually is, because you could really, right, do damage to somebody's to a lot of
Absolutely.
things, to be honest with you. So,
Ruin lives.
yeah. So if anyone does want to check that out, you guys can go to that Shinatria Speaks or whatever her name is. Sorry, but it's a really weird name at the start. It's not one that you sit there and go, oh yeah, I'm gonna remember that. I just remember it was like Shinatria Speaks. Okay. So that's where, if you haven't seen the picture of the biological dad, apparently that's supposed to be the biological dad, Cody Lee Sullivan. And to be honest with you, it does remind me of a Facebook that I was kind of looking at, or a picture type of thing. So I wouldn't doubt if it's possibly actually the biological dad of Jack and Lily. Okay, so let me just quickly bring up then share screen, and we'll just go over this, just the press conference here, okay? So it just said 9 hours ago, and Charmaine, thank you for sending this. I was at work and I seen it, and I was just like, oh, okay, a little bit of an update, but updated at 12:24 p.m., I guess it was. But May 13, 2025, Lansdowne Station, Nova Scotia, the Pictou County District RCMP, with the assistance of the Northeast Nova RCMP Major Crime Unit, continue to investigate the disappearance of Lily. And notice that they spell Lily, 2 L's in this one, and Jack Sullivan. We're exploring all avenues in the missing persons investigation, says Staff Sergeant Curtis McKinnon. Pictou County District RCMP, we have officers for multiple disciplines dedicated to finding Lily and Jack, including highly trained RCMP major crime and forensic investigators. To date, more than 180 tips have been received from the public and are being followed up on. Officers have so far identified 35 people for formal interviews as part of the investigation, including community members and the closest to the children. And on May 8th and 9th, RCMP's underwater recovery team scoured bodies of water in the Lansdowne Station. URT's 2-day operation didn't uncover any evidence. We continue to work day and night on this file, says Sergeant McKinnon. Like all Nova Scotians, we want answers and we want to know what happened to these children. Absolutely. On May 2nd at approximately 10 a.m., Pictou County District RCMP received a report that Lily and Jack were missing. They were believed to have wandered away from their home on Gairloch Road, and the multi-agency search and missing persons investigation began immediately. The search was scaled back on May 7th, has covered 5.5 square kilometers of heavily wooded rural terrain in the Gairloch Road area. It is involved up to 160 trained volunteers, searchers, and many others, and tens of thousands of search hours. Efforts to locate Lily and Jack also included 2 vulnerable missing persons alerts. Anyone, of course, with information with the whereabouts of Lily and Jack is asked to contact the Pictou County District RCMP 902-485-4333. And of course, to remain anonymous, contact Crime Stoppers 1-800-222-TIPS. And that's 8477. Okay, so that was the brief update on this. Again, it's the 13th already, guys. Okay, we're 11 days deep into these children, right? Lost in the woods, abducted. We know that the parents have both been talking about, more of an abducted thing, hence why they were wanting Amber Alerts and stuff like that. Again, as a true crime community and stuff like that, we always look if someone's pushing a narrative, versus what the RCMP and that's saying. That's kind of what's actually happening here, is that the whatever that guy's name was from the major crimes unit there, he literally basically looked over and said to the reporter, basically, look, if we felt like it was an abduction, we would have let you guys know. Basically, like, that's how we were talking. Like, we would have let you guys know, okay? But that's not how it is. And then the other person says, like, do you feel like they're alive? And he's like, no. Why? Because the evidence and through the investigation, there's nothing that leads them to believe now that the children are alive. Hence why everyone is like, okay, back to the parents, right? We still don't know the answer to that. And again, everything is just speculation, observations, and our own personal opinions. You're allowed to have those. That part's okay. Hi, Chrissy. How are you? Same, Sharon. That would not be able to make them leave unless they put me in jail or knock me out. Absolutely. Charmaine, let's just talk about that for a second, that part of it. Um, there's some channels that are basically going, well, maybe the RCMP, or the CPS, and yes, it's called CPS here as well, told, took the baby, or, told Malala that they had to, for the sake of the baby and to not get the baby taken away from you, to leave the property and blah, 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 and then there's a lot of other people, mothers, that are like, you know what? You would have to freaking hold me down, freaking strap me before I would ever not be searching for my 2 missing children. And the next day head up, about an hour's away. I think they said half an hour. So it's very confusing. And some people, because in articles it says that she went to Wentworth, an hour's drive away. Other things say that she went to the reservation, type of thing, which would be about a half an hour. Well, they're about an hour away as well. Maybe one's closer. Probably the Indian Brook, which is about an hour away. But anyways, what's your thoughts on, what is your personal thoughts on Malaya leaving the area when her 2 children are missing and we don't hear anything?
Well, honestly, if it were me, you would have to take my cold dead body out of there. That's the only way that I would be leaving the area. However, there's somebody, and I think it's the same person, but it's an anonymous poster in all of the groups and stuff. They keep saying that, you know what, she was forced to leave by Daniel's mom,
Right.
off the land. She couldn't stay there. Fair enough. Absolutely. So that's not what I'm saying. And I'm sure that's not what everybody else is saying. We're not saying that she should stay and search, stay in that property and search. No, we're saying in the area. There's no reason why mom, or as it is, CPS, has the baby. Why aren't you out searching for your kids? You don't have to stay at Daniel's place.
Right.
You don't have to be in the same house. You can travel there daily with your family or whoever and help with the search. You can go in front of the media, because I'll tell you another thing. The RCMP, CPS, nobody told her not to talk to the press about her missing kids.
Right.
That's
Absolutely.
number 2. Another thing that I was kind of reading today on different pages was that mom and her mom went to Ontario and left the kid, left Meadow with CPS. Absolutely no receipts for that whatsoever.
Yeah.
But I mean,
Hey,
I got it.
Yeah.
But that's my personal thought. You would not get me out of there. It would be dragging my cold dead body out of there. Period. You couldn't make me go.
I was going to say,
and you couldn't shut me up.
Honestly, as a parent, absolutely. Right, guys? You guys, again, voice your opinions in chat, to what you personally think. Just be respectful. You can disagree. Someone can have a totally different opinion and think that, Malaya is like the pristine mother and stuff like that, and had nothing to do with anything. That's perfectly fine as well. But we're here to talk about what we think, speculation, and possibly, because it is strange. I'm sorry, but this interview is absolutely rubs me the wrong way. And the more I keep listening to it, the more I keep hearing things like, well, we'll get into it one of the things, like, it's like when you hear something over and over and you're hearing all these oddities. But I can honestly say, from my personal perspective, from start to finish, everything about that interview is non-flowing, not proper emotions, matching what she's saying. It's like someone's storytelling. It's like 2 people coming together to concoct a story of what happened. But then you have the stepdad, Daniel, looking and coming across like that people are feeling sorry for him. And perhaps there's good reason. Perhaps it's authentic, and perhaps it's not. But when you have 2 people that are talking and trying to tell about the same thing, like, for instance, let's just take the silent door, right? Okay, it's one thing for one parent to talk about the sliding door, the silent sliding door, but both of them separately in their interviews talk about the silent sliding door. To me, that comes off as contrived. that they basically got a story that they're talking about together. Perhaps I'm wrong. Absolutely could be wrong, but I'm telling you, I know bullshit when I see bullshit, and what's coming out of the mother's mouth does not in any way, I'm sorry, from start to finish of this interview, does not come off as sincere, genuine, honest, doesn't come off as emotional, and that you're just tragically, should be in the midst of despair right now. You should be seeing tears rolling down those eyes, and you don't. Literally don't see tears. You see the eyes wanting to well up with emotion. Why? Because you possibly know what happened to these children. Bottom line is, from start to finish, to me, her interview does not make sense. There are so many red flags in that interview that I'm having a hard time saying that there isn't any sort of family involvement. But yet, by the same token, there's nothing to show that at this point. But we follow enough true crime cases, right? You know how many times they try to think that they're convincing you out there, but yet they're really dumb as doors, when it comes to it, because what they're trying to convince, most people aren't buying it. And then there's people that no matter what will hop on the parents did it, the stepdad did it, bandwagon, no matter what, right? But there's definitely, to the people that pay attention and whatever, there's definitely cues of how people talk and with emotions, what they say, and do they match? And when you just don't see that, even just as without being a psychologist, but I do watch people's body language and how they say things, I'm very much receptive to people's words, what they say, what they're not saying, reading between the lines, right? I've always been very perceptive to those. Without thinking about it, my mind just goes that way, because I'm always kind of like you, Charmaine, where you always have the eyebrow up because you never really fully trust somebody, because people will lie to you all day long. Yeah, and there's other people,
especially for their own, for self-preservation. It's
some people are really good at spotting, people's what do you want to call it, auras, red flags, so for me, it's like if I see a bullshitter on YouTube who's trying to claim like they're a good person and stuff like that, and I can instantly see right through them. I know that they're trying to sell to their subscribers that they're this great person. So many subscribers buy into it, because they just honestly whereas me, if I find anything suspicious about you, chances are I'm going to Google your ass name, and lo and behold, right, about that person. And it's just because when I smell it, see it, hear it out of their mouths, I can detect that bullshit a mile away when people try to, because they're so transparent to me. In this case with Malaya, I just feel like everything about this interview, just from start to finish, boom. Okay, now I can only repeat that about 50
it seemed
times.
to me, sorry, my impression of it was a performance that she was nervous to give, and just her cadence in it and the way she formed some sentences is she was definitely trying to remember, but I think she was trying to remember the sequence of events that they had decided upon. It's just my opinion. But then she would forget a bit, so that she would go backwards just a couple of steps, and that's what made it not flow. Like I said, if the story would have had a better flow to it, and she was more sure of what she was saying, even when they just happened to go out that sliding door and play in the backyard, we weren't aware of it at the time. Do you know what I mean? None of that is natural. None of it. It's not how we think. It's not how we talk.
Especially, Charmaine, when someone starts off pretty much the interview by saying, "This is what happened."
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. It's like she was standing up at a podium ready to give her presentation, and didn't have her notes in front of her, and was just winging it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's sad to say.
And hence why she was babbling on about them being talkative. That was just rambling right there about the kids are talkative. And anyways, we'll get into it. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to play her interview first. We're just going to play it through. And then I'm going to go to this Prime Minister of Behavior, Sadie, over here. And I want you guys to listen to what she has to say about this interview as well, and then we'll come back to it. But let's just start off with that, and we'll be back.
Just staying as hopeful as possible. I want them home. I want to hold them. And I want them home. What happened was we woke up, I heard them playing in the next room beside us, and I was drifting in and out of sleep, and they're not the type of kids that we tell them not to go outside on their own. We always make sure that we're out there with them, watching them, and they happen to just get out that sliding door, and we can't hear it when it opens, and they were outside playing, but we weren't aware of it at the time, and the next thing we knew, it was quiet, and we get up, and I tell him, my partner, Daniel, I tell him, do you hear the kids? And he says, no. And we get up instantly. We're looking outside. We're looking everywhere, yelling for them. And I instantly just call 911. I just had the instinct I needed to call. They're both really go-lucky children. They're so sweet. They talk to anyone. They'll talk your ear off. They will speak to anyone in a store. Everyone. They're just extremely sweet kids. I appreciate the huge search effort going on right now. But we've been pushing for an Amber Alert, which hasn't been issued. Not just that they could possibly be abducted, which it is a possibility that they could have been, but just an alert to let everyone know that they are missing. We had people text me saying that they weren't aware someone else let them know that they were missing, and it would just be nice if everyone could be alerted. We thought maybe that we found tracks, but it's still uncertain. It's been raining and they're probably soaking wet, but with the sun today, I'm hopeful that they are feeling warm. We're all filled with pain and sorrow because we just want them found. We want them home. Everyone loves them. They are definitely verbal, and they do have possible autism, but it's not extreme autism. It's just they have issues with school, and they don't catch up with the other kids. I just want to remain hopeful. But there's always, in a mother's mind, you're always thinking the worst. Last night was one of the worst nights because I didn't have them in their beds. And I don't want to go through that another night without them.
Just quickly on that one. Okay. Oh God, it's so hard for me not to say anything during playing that, honestly.
Yeah.
Now, the thing, I want to say something about that part right there. So, Ryan McPherson, thank you for subscribing to the channel. Where, like I said, we're Canadian, both me and Charmaine, and sometimes Melissa's on. She's American, but we cover usually the U.S. cases, or cases that really, honestly, just grab our hearts. And not that there's a lot out there that don't, but we don't always cover all of them, because hence why the true crime community grows bigger and bigger. But thank you for subscribing. Citizen Sleuth says she has a very strange cadence of her speech. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Now, the one thing, so I was watching a few minutes of Dolly Vision yesterday. I think they're covering down there in the Karen Reed case there, and to me, I think that this is very true. Okay, so the whole party thing was based upon some neighbor, because there's only 2 homes, okay, that are like within distance, like 500 feet or whatever it was. But anyways, of where they live. And then there was this post about a party and about a bunch of cars and blah, blah, blah. But I'm telling you, like Dolly said yesterday, there has been nothing that has come out, okay, about from anybody. No one is sending emails saying I was at the party that night, anything like that. So I don't know how credible this whole party thing is whatsoever, but trust me, people always want to let you know, right? And do it anonymously or send it in to somebody, to the bigger channels, because in their way, it's their way of trying to help perhaps, or recognition or something. But there has been zilch, nothing about anyone. And Dolly has a pretty good channel, and he gets a lot of viewers to his. And Dolly Vision, if you guys don't know who I'm talking about, and he, you know, like I said, has a lot of people that have called in from Nova Scotia to his channel, stuff like that. Trust me. And some of these YouTubers and that, they would get people sending them stuff saying, you know, I was at the party that night, because you can't keep a party quiet unless they're all family members that are all protecting each other somehow. Other than that, you know, it doesn't seem likely that perhaps there might have been a party, based on the fact that there's been nothing from anyone to suggest beyond that post that other people were at this party. And people always do that, right? They always come through the woodwork to let you know that, hey, just so you know, like, yeah, I was at the party, and, you know, or the parents and this and that. There's always those people, but there hasn't been any of that. So I don't know personally myself, and we don't know, because we're not the RCMP, and we're not the Crimes Investigative Unit, and we're not a close family member. We don't know if those children actually disappeared on Friday, or if it was Thursday, or if it was Wednesday. We literally do not know. The people that know are the people that have knowledge, or perhaps the RCMP have some information to guide them, you know, because again, this could be like the Sebastian Rogers case, where the mother's story is the only thing that we have to go off by almost 90% of that case. And if we believe that the mother had some sort of involvement in her son's disappearance, we can only go by her timeline. So same thing here, right? For us in the public, we're not going to know that information. And then unless, like I said, unless a family member says something, but other than that, we don't know if the children disappeared on Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday, in all fairness. She's acting so
for all that.
Say it again.
I said it could have even been Tuesday night. The bus driver dropped them off Tuesday afternoon after school. And I mean, maybe the RCMP have information of proof of life after that, but we haven't heard it.
Mm-hmm. And thank you, Ryan, and you're more than welcome. And absolutely, Charmaine. The thing is that bottom line is, we all know that when there's too many cases out there where a family member, the parents, have something to do with that of their missing child. But there is a ton of cases where they don't either. But the thing is, regardless, the RCMP, the LE, whichever way you determine your police over there, the family members are always the first to be looked at, of course. So this is no exception. And absolutely, in my personal view, and Charmaine's too, and a lot of other people's, this interview is a huge red flag. It's definitely an interview that you can't help but all your freaking sonar shit detectors are going off like almost every second. Bing, 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 bing. This one has so many red flags in it in such a short span of time. It's just, you know, like I said, this interview is bugging me internally, for the fact that I'm not finding her believable. That doesn't mean she is guilty, but there's definitely so many things in this interview that are just, like I said, from start to finish. I could literally stop this interview like every 10 seconds and have something to say.
Every sentence. And here's the problem, right? She could be completely innocent, but you know as well as I do that this story is not true. And if it does have pieces of truthfulness, she's adding too much collateral information that it doesn't make a difference. Like,
yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, it's just too much extra information. If my kid was missing, and thank God, and I say this almost every time I'm on, I cannot relate. However, we've seen too many interviews where parents are completely innocent and they're begging for their children to be returned. They're begging for help to find their missing kids. They're giving the information that they have and that they can remember. We're seeing emotion, and even the people that have a hard time showing emotion publicly, like Tori Stafford's mom is a prime example. She was able to talk to the media, but it was all about what happened that day, what she was wearing that day. She used her name. she asked for help. She wanted the public. She wanted to be right there to help search for her kid, and we're not seeing any of that. And maybe she's completely innocent, but she's unfortunately she's started a shitstorm. Like,
Yeah. Whenever something is off balance, absolutely. You can guarantee when something doesn't ring truthful and stuff like that. True crime. Okay, like I said, there's a lot of whack jobs out there. Don't get me wrong. Okay, people that have um, YouTube channels or TikToks and that, and some of them, just literally add drama, add a bunch of lies, twist and turn it, blah blah blah. This channel, honestly, is not about that whatsoever. We don't ever try to put out a thumbnail that's misleading or misguiding. It's about truth and facts, but we do want to talk about speculation and opinions as well. So absolutely, just like any human being out there, whenever you see something yourself on the news or to do with the case, you instantly derive your gut feeling about how that person's presenting themselves, what they're saying. And in this case, myself, just like many others, is that there's just tons of red flags because it's not a natural flowing way that somebody would interview. It's not, everyone can sit there and keep making a lot of these justifications that, everyone behaves differently or this and that. And I get that. Absolutely. But there's a difference to me between that and someone that literally is giving off so many red flags. Definitely, I'm going to sit there and put her under the radar the hardest because she's the one giving off the most red flags that isn't natural sounding. It's not, the emotions aren't matching what she's saying. It's coming off as scripted. She's telling a story. She's trying to recollect. And then this is where I need Alexa come on too. Alexa's our profiler, our criminal profiler, who's a body language expert as well. I'm going to have to check in with her on that because when I last tried to ask her, she was just kind of flying in at home. But I'd really like her opinion. So for now, you guys, yes, please hit the thumbs up. Please hit the share. Please do it for Jack and Lily. I'm not asking for the channel's sake, okay? I could care less about the channel's sake. What I care about is the algorithm that keeps the awareness of these cases and stuff like that. This channel isn't about begging for donations and stuff like that. It's really just a channel that we just come on as we're able to talk about cases, try to always put out the facts, and the facts are always best, even what we deem as facts. For instance, when Daniel Martell speaking, it's fact that he's speaking. Does it mean what's coming out of his mouth is truthful? Absolutely not. But it's still from the horse's mouth. And those are the things that you have to always look at first and foremost before you start believing in any third-party gossip and a lot of people that lie, to twist, manipulate, create thumbnails to get you to click on them for that sake of selfishness, their own reasons, and from their pocketbook, to get their subscriber count higher, stuff like that. It's not the way I work it to do things, to be, for this channel and all that. But at the end of the day, just keeping out the awareness for the children, regardless, if what I call a low level, channel for doing stuff like that. Either or, everyone has the right to do whatever they want and however they get there. At the end of the day, it's between them and God's ears type of thing. So with that being said, let's see what Ryan says here. I feel in my gut that it wasn't intentional. Correct. Same. But the parents, out of self-centered fear, absolutely, are trying to hide the truth. Can't stop thinking of these kids. It's terrible. Well, you're on the same thoughts as us, to be honest with you, Ryan. That's exactly our thinking about it, Charmaine. Not intentional, but perhaps the fear of losing baby Meadow. Perhaps the fear of knowing that basically it's a catch-22. They can lie and try to get away with it if they have anything to do with it, or regardless, they're going to do time. So either you're going to do time and lose a baby, or you try to lie and twist the story, make it up, and get found out that you're lying, as time goes on. Or perhaps sometimes people get away with it. So if they have any involvement, to me, that would be a very self-centered reason why they would do something like that. Okay. But what do they do? Right, exactly. But anyway, so let's listen and say to you guys, we're going to play this. And Charmaine, like I said, stop me whenever you want to say something if I haven't stopped it at that point. But we'll go through this, listen to what she's saying. And I've only watched, like I said, about maybe 10 minutes of this at best. So it should be very interesting. Again, the Prime Minister of Behavior.
Quick analysis about Lily and Jack Sullivan's mom. There were a few red flags that I had, and I just wanted to cover them really quickly just to get the word out about them. And yeah, that's it. Hope you like it. Please consider liking and subscribing. I've watched this a few times, and the things that I have been paying attention to most is how often they are talking about their kids, how often they're using their names, and how often the focus is on them. And then, of course, how often they are trying to focus on what happened. So without further ado, let's take a look at the mother.
I'm just staying as hopeful as possible. I want them home. I want to hold them. And I want them home.
So it's interesting because right here, you see the chin boss, but it really doesn't seem like there's no guilt in the forehead. There's no sadness beyond that. I mean, it's just interesting.
What happened was we woke up.
It's also interesting that, I mean, obviously the question was, so can you tell us what happened? And then she repeated the answer, what happened was. And I just feel like where you started a story is very interesting when you are answering what happened.
What happened was we woke up. I heard them playing in the next room beside us. And I was drifting in and out of sleep. And they're not the type of kids that we tell them not to go outside on their own. We tell them not to go.
They're not the type of kids
that we tell them not
go
outside on their own. We always make sure that we're out there with them.
But that doesn't mean anything. You obviously weren't out there with them.
Watching them.
She wants to say that she was a good mother, but she's obviously, if they didn't even look at their kids, they don't know what they were wearing. They don't know what Jack was wearing.
And I was drifting in and out of sleep. And they're not the type of kids that we tell them not to go outside on their own.
They're not the type of kids.
We always make sure that we're out there with them. Drifting in and out of sleep. And they're not the type of kids that we tell them not to go outside on their own. We always make sure that we're out there with them.
So that doesn't mean that you did that day, obviously. We always make sure, but you don't. You didn't.
Watching them. And they happened to just get out sliding. And
deep breath in, and she's remembering. She's eye accessing a memory, and then she blinks hard, and she pauses.
They happen to just get out that sliding door, and we can't hear it when it opens. And they were outside playing.
She really seems like she's following a story as opposed to just like telling what happened. Because for me, well, for anyone, I feel like when you ask somebody a question, when they go into chronological order, it just is off, because obviously you'd want to start with the event. Like, I came out of the room, I came out of the house and they were gone. I don't know what happened. We couldn't find them. Would be a better explanation of what happened. You start with the biggest deal that happened, and then you go back and say, we were in bed still. We hadn't gotten out of bed yet. We were whatever, doing whatever. We hadn't given them breakfast yet. We hadn't even seen them yet. It just seems very strange that her story is starting at the very beginning of the day, when I feel like there's a lot being hidden here, and there's a lot of time being hidden by her going and
watching them, and they happen to just get out that sliding door, and we can't hear it when it opens.
And we can't hear it when it opens. And we just so happened. They happened.
And they were outside playing.
It sounds like she's recounting a story that they have agreed upon. That really is what it sounds like to me.
But we weren't aware of it at the time. And the next thing we knew, it was quiet.
What was she going to say there?
The next thing we knew, the room
was quiet.
The next thing we knew, it was quiet, and we get up, and I tell him, my partner, Daniel, I tell him,
I don't know why she has to say that. Obviously, you're talking about your partner.
Hear the kid? And he says, my partner, Daniel, I tell him, do you hear the kids?
I tell him, do you hear the kids? No, I ask him.
And he says, no. And we get up instantly. We're looking outside. We're looking everywhere.
See, this is where the story should have started, right?
We're looking outside. We're looking everywhere, yelling for them. And I instantly just call 911. I just had the instinct I needed to call.
You don't have to just explain why you would call. That's not the issue. You don't have to explain why you called. But it seems like she feels like she needs to. Which makes it weird, because I have a problem with, they weren't in school at all the whole week before. So they could have disappeared any day. Something could have happened to them at any point in time. So why does she feel the need to tell us that she felt like calling then? That's what it's red flags.
They're both really lucky children. They're so sweet. They talk to anyone. They'll talk your ear off.
They'll talk your ear off.
They'll talk your ear off.
It really seems like a negative thing that you're saying.
They'll talk your ear off. They will speak to anyone in a store. Everyone. They're just extremely sweet kids. I appreciate the huge search effort going on right now. But we've been pushing for an Amber Alert, which hasn't been issued.
So them and their Amber Alert, they're really, really eager, or really just trying to push the narrative, I guess, of wanting an Amber Alert to be called, which is very interesting, because again, I feel like it's redirecting the attention. They're really trying so hard to get the attention off of them, and they're so certain that they were taken, which is just very odd to me, because it seems very suspicious. Because why would they be so certain that they've been taken?
Not just that they could possibly be abducted, which it is a possibility that they could have been, but just an alert to let everyone know that they are missing. We had people text me saying that they weren't aware someone else let them know that they were missing, and it would just be nice if everyone could be alerted. We thought maybe we had people text me.
It's interesting to hear as well, her uses of pronouns where it goes I and we. So we had people text me.
We had people text me saying that they weren't aware, someone else let them know that they were missing, and it would just be nice if everyone could be alerted. We thought maybe that we found tracks, but it's still uncertain. It's been raining and they're probably soaking wet, but with the sun today, I'm hopeful that they are feeling warm. We're all filled with pain and sorrow because we just want them found. We want them home.
Gonna just stop it there for a sec, guys, because I just want to see. Thank you guys for all your comments. Absolutely. Charmaine, is there anything so far that she's saying to you that you missed or that you're wanting to talk about or say something quickly?
I mean, nothing that I missed. I've watched this probably 100 times now. It infuriates me. I mean, what do you say? She's not believable, and she's not using her kids' names, and she's not asking for help to try to find them. And she doesn't. We want them home, and okay, fine. We want them home, but how are you going to get them home? Are you going to ask for help? Are you going to, ask who you think might have abducted them? Don't hurt my kids. Please bring them home. Anything that we see in most other abduction cases, are we going to see anything status quo? No, probably not. I mean, there's so much to say in almost every word that she says but I've said it all already.
And she's twisted, like there's so many sentences that she's twisted, like what she had just said there, for instance, like, they sent me messages, like, again, okay.
Like who?
And then when she, go ahead.
No, just like, okay, well, who's sending you text messages? And I mean, excellent point, just so that everybody can be alerted, but, which is a possibility that they have been abducted. It's just, and no real emotion. And the biggest thing for me is that she doesn't use their names. She's barely, to me, answering questions. It sounds like she's saying something and then remembers she missed a piece and she has to repeat herself, and just, it's frustrating.
Yeah. Again, one of those things like that really bugged me that I caught more so today was when she said, and then, I tell Daniel or whatever, I tell Daniel, have you heard the kids? What do you mean you tell Daniel, have you heard the kids? Again, to me, it's because you're trying to tell a story, but you don't know how to tell a story because you're not a good liar. And so you keep having all these really inconsistencies in how she's saying it, because to me, it's kind of like what Alexa says, same thing that she said when she's looking down. I think Alexa says, when you look down, look to your left, it means you're trying to access your brain. And that's all I keep seeing here as well, is this person that's basically, in a sense, they have a story, or we'll say they, because both of them, right? Apparently both of them. I mean, they're telling the story, so we have to include both of them, because both of them are trying to say the same story, but with inconsistencies in a sense. She's saying more, he's saying nonverbal, she's saying verbal. Teacher is saying low verbal. Anant is saying nonverbal. So sounds like three other people, Daniel, teacher, and Aunt, are saying nonverbal, and she's saying verbal. Is that because she's trying to project to us that they'll talk to anyone, and that, abduction has to be an abduction? That's probably why they're missing, is an abduction. Look this way, not this way. But I just constantly see, when she's speaking, all these miss sentences that don't sound right they're not flowing, they're not fluent. Again, tell Daniel, do you hear them? What do you mean tell? Why aren't you saying? And I asked Daniel, it's because that's, to me, is somebody that's lying, and they have to keep going back to their brain. And when she starts actually talking about how the kids are talkative, blah, 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 all I could picture there myself was someone who wasn't exactly sure what to say next. So she kept riding off of that particular conversation until she then starts saying, like, we're grateful for the help and support, but we would want an Amber Alert. But that's what that reminded me of, someone that's kind of trying to remember what to say. And then she kind of doesn't really know what to say at that moment. So she kind of keeps writing off about, they'll just talk to everyone and be. And then finally it seems like, okay, so now I have another thought. But this last part, you guys, was always really bugged me, because just like Charmaine saying, and everyone's out there, is that at what point are you begging? Okay, this is the next day right after the children are missing. These emotions, she should be crying really hard. She should just be begging. The true emotions of somebody that's actually missing their kids, not seeing any of it. But what bugged me is how she said that, and it's been raining, and, today the sun's out, so hopefully they're warm. How about hopefully I get my kids back today? Hopefully, Jack and Lily are found. What do you mean? What do you mean hope they're warm? The sun's out. I hope they're off grazing in the frickin' pasture with the bunnies, and that they're just warm in somebody's trunk somewhere, because abduction is what we're trying to tell you. I honestly, every time I hear that line of, I hope they're warm, I literally just want to throat punch through the computer, because it's just ridiculous to say that over what we should be hearing, which is, my children are missing. I'm just, beyond belief, repaired, devastated, blah, blah, blah. We should see tears literally. This is the day after. What do you mean the sun's out and I hope that they're warm? How about you hope that they're brought home safe? That you hope they're found?
Are we seeing a bunch of, like, are we seeing her anxiety and her nervousness? I think so, because somebody else, I can't remember who, but somebody said she looks almost doped up or drugged out or something, and I don't think so. But to me, like, her mouth definitely seems very dry, and she seems very, very nervous. But if you're speaking the truth and you're worried and you're trying to get information out there to help find your children, Jack and Lily, I don't think that you're going to be nervous. I think that you're going to be talkative. I think it's going to be just falling out of your mouth like word vomit. You know what I mean? Just blah, not this very scripted, I forgot a piece, scripted again. You know what I mean? This is very not good.
Well, and
I think when we get nervous and we're lying, our mouths get dry. You should watch the Behavior Panel. Which, before I forget, Sunny, Behavior Panel is doing Richard Allen here on Thursday.
Oh, they're going to do them again? Okay, perfect. Yeah, I'd like to see them do this case, to be honest with you.
They will. I'm sure of it. They will.
Yeah.
Because one of them, the blonde one, I think he's from Canada. He lives in Canada, so they'll do it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I do like what she said there as well, like Sadie. So you guys, if you guys are not subscribed to Sadie, I would recommend subscribing to her. It's always great to listen to people that have the experience and belts behind them that have to do with, like, deception detective, lawyer, slash whatever he's called, a psychologist, whatever, or body language expert and stuff like that. Same thing with this lady, Sadie. She's new and upcoming in channels, so please support her channel. I've dropped the link a few times throughout this live, but even if we think that we're the most cued people that hear cues and stuff like that, right? Then you hear things that that you've heard, and that you believe, say that this interview is red flags all over, and then you listen to something that maybe that you haven't thought of, or perhaps they've said it in a way that you're like, yeah. Right. And one of the things there was, because I wouldn't know personally, I just listened to someone's story and I deem where the red flags are. Whereas Sadie here is saying, like, look, the story should have actually started here and then kind of went back to about the day, but talking about the main event, but So this is where it's stuff that I like picking up on, not being a body language expert, but I definitely love to, like I said, all my life, I've always been very in tune when I might not know every little tip and trick that they know because they've taken courses in it. But for me, I know shit when I hear shit. And here I hear a lot of bullshit. And there's just no denying that to my ears, at least, that this is not natural. This is not normal. I don't care if you agree with me or disagree with me out there, anyone that's watching this. That's your opinion. You can say whatever you like. But I'm just talking about how I'm seeing this. And I'm not seeing emotions matching what she's saying. I'm seeing a very contrived interview, someone that literally is trying to remember how to say it, because I'm sure, that it's, like I said, I don't think we have the smartest freaking light bulbs on the tree here. So it's just a matter of if they are involved, that trust me, that will all break apart because they weren't smart enough digitally. They weren't smart enough to remember how to say things. The inconsistencies will start flowing. And, for them to both kind of say that the door was silent. And I'm sorry, again, and people can take offense to this if they want to or not, but when you see chaos outside of the house and you see this, and like I said, there's some people, get off your high horses, people. Trust me, it's a shit shack of a house, okay? An unkept piece of property is what that is. When you see chaos on the outside and you've seen pictures on the inside, and I just saw a picture with even Daniel in at home, okay? Chaos, a mess. And that's exactly why what you see on the outside, you honestly think I'm gonna see some palace on the inside when I'm seeing that on the outside? Absolutely not. We've seen pictures on the inside that would just match that anyways. So when you have that type of chaos,
Go back and chat to 7:38 p.m. Rainbow had posted something about an interview that Daniel did today, and it's very interesting. And I'm sure it goes right along with what you're talking about right now, which is why I went back to find it. 7:38 p.m.
And the thing is that I did see Rainbow's name, but 35.
No,
up 35.
Up one more.
Oh, up one more.
No.
Hi, Rainbow.
Up
This
one
one
more
right here?
of Rainbow. Yeah, goes along with what you're talking about right now.
Today, Daniel's been interviewed by City TV, and he, Charmaine, can you see if you can find that?
I will have a look.
Or if anyone can let me know, and so I can watch it and share the link. Heard the door that the kids supposedly used to escape the house. As today, Daniel has been interviewed, and he, according to them, told that he heard that the door the kid used supposedly to escape the house has. Oh, okay. Thank you. Sorry if I didn't catch that earlier, Rainbow. Sometimes it's hard sometimes to keep up and talk and watch things and stuff like that. But thank you. Thanks for anybody. Again, it's always about the kids, okay? That's all it's about. Our egos are always put to the side because it's always about the kids, first and foremost, getting accurate information out there and just trying to bring awareness to the case, discuss it, talk about it. Because honestly, anyone that has children, even if you don't have children, but especially if you do have children, you guys all know how we feel as parents and how much when you truly love your kids, how much hurt, heartache, and pain, just the desperation that a parent would be in knowing that their child is gone. We're seeing these oddities, definitely with Malaya here, but doesn't mean she's guilty. Well, we can think it. Doesn't mean it's true. No, not yet. But is there some probability to perhaps maybe something to this interview? I think so, but we'll see. Doesn't mean we're right, but I think it's kind of sometimes hard when you listen to people that really have great content and like I said, and have business, like I should say, they have their degrees in body language and stuff like that. Doesn't mean that they're all going to say the same thing, but there's a very consistent thing with this particular case, and they all seem to be saying the same thing about this interview. And I think that there's something to be said for sure about it, where the mother did not shed a single tear. That's the issue. We're talking about tears, but what she says doesn't add up, in my opinion. Or tears seem to make that she and Daniel are lying. I've heard all the interviews, and I'm not buying into their fabrications. That's just it, right? And you know what? After we watch this, we'll get all into this, and it's truth. Thank you, Ryan. And Ryan, I just want you to know, just for the sake of it, I will adopt you regardless of your age, because so my husband's name is Steve and his brother's name is Ryan. My husband and brother-in-law work for Ryan, and my twin sister's child Shay has a Ryan. So I'm just going to adopt you. And my husband's knocking at the door. So go ahead, Charmaine, for 1 sec.
Sorry, I'm on mute. So yeah, I'm looking at City News Halifax, and I'm only seeing the one news story, Rainbow, that is about the 180 tips and 30 plus interviews. So if by chance you can find that, you can't. Have you seen today's article of what Daniel said to? No, like I can't find it. So basically, the way, I don't know if you know YouTube or not, you can't put a link in the chat here, but I put Sunny's, and I'm pretty sure that's your email address, Sunny. Yeah, that's it. It's Crime and Shame. Click on News tab, and then Atlantic. It's first. News tab and Atlantic. I love having step-by-step directions. Okay.
If you by chance have that article, Rainbow, please, if you could let me know, if you could send it over to @crimingshame@gmail.com. That's @crimingshame@gmail.com. And just let me know if you have sent it. And then that way I could pull it up. If that article, you can find it again if you don't mind. That's a lot of Brian's apps. Oh, I know. Can never have enough moms. You know what? Honestly, contrary to what my son would tell you, okay, I'm a really good mom. That's why these cases, they bug me to no end. So although if I could, stick my kid back in the oven and redo him with his attitude as he's gotten older, he's 28 now, by the way. But I probably would, okay? But when you have a child, to me, okay, they are a gold bar. It is our duty as parents to bring them up with the best morals, to teach them boundaries and guidelines, to give them as much love and care as they deserve. And not, so it always bugs me to no end when I see kids in either very rundown homes or dilapidated, livings, unhealthy, being used and abused and stuff like that. The missing and the murdered is what we cover. And it's just, as much as this is a very heavy true crime community to be in, it's the impact that you can positively do by bringing awareness to cases, discussing them, keeping it out there. That's the bright star at the end of these very tragic cases. And for that, again, I never ever put a money dollar value over anything. This channel, like I said, is not about writing off of donations and stuff like that. When people donate, they do because they want to or whatever, but it's not a channel that runs off of fabrication or fake thumbnails to drive people in. But I know that the drama channels will get those, and that's just the way it is. But I have to stay true, right, Charmaine, to who we are as people and stuff like that. So I appreciate anyone that comes in here when they want to hear the facts about the case, and then talk about speculation. That's exactly what we're about. So I appreciate that. And of course, the main important thing here, guys, hit the like. Again, not for the channel's sake. Do it for Jack and Lily. Do it for any case of the missing and the murdered, and one's just to bring awareness. It takes a second to do that. It's very helpful, and it just keeps the awareness out there. What more beautiful thing could you do for families that truly are missing than what was that, Charmaine? Was that a cough?
Yeah, I coughed.
Yeah, it's the best. Okay.
I don't see it, Rainbow. I'm looking, the first story is about gender-based violence, and the second story is RCMP interviewing people closest to 2 children. That's it. And then it goes Newfoundland, theft on Nova Scotia power customer data. Nova Scotia's lift licensing
Damn it.
moratorium. Like, I don't see it. I don't have it.
Well, I was going to say, and Rainbow, just so you know, unless someone's a mod, no one can drop links in chat. It won't show up. Even if you see it show up, it won't show up. Just so you know that. So that's why if you do have it, please send it to @crimeandshame Gmail, @crimeandshame@gmail.com, if you could do that. Other than that, I want to carry on back with this Sadie's, behavior expert here who's talking about this particular interview. Yeah, so just if you could, Rainbow, if you do happen to have it, again, if not, that's fine too. Do I remember correctly that the mother's dad said she should have phoned him first? Right, there was, right. Okay, so the dad had this posting saying basically, baby girl, you should have told me about when this happened. That if it ever happens again, baby girl, weird. If it ever happens again, baby girl, remember I'm a tracker, basically. Okay, so this father, I don't know if he's been in the life, he's being convicted himself, and assault and drugs and different things like that. So who knows exactly what's going on with that relationship. Anyways, it was a post. Do you guys know anything about the little boy Dylan that went missing from Truro? I've seen a few people keep talking about it. I don't. It's a case that we can look into, but I've seen people talk about Dylan, but in my head I was thinking about Dylan Rounds, another different case. So no, I don't. It will be something that I would, have to look into and check it out for sure. Mm-hmm. By Fade Scars. Okay, so let's get back into playing this video here.
Honestly, the RCMP dropped the ball.
I appreciate how she talks about how.
Sorry, Shermeen?
No, I was just replying to Ryan. The RCMP dropped the ball quite often, only because of their initial response, and then things just get away from them. So.
Oh. He says, well, he went missing almost the day these kids went missing from Truro. After this live, I'll look into that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Did you hear about the little toddler from Alberta? Was it yesterday, the day before? He was gone for 8 hours in the bush around Grand Prairie, and he was found alive and well by search and rescue.
And that's what you would expect to have happened in this case.
But a 2-year-old, 8 hours, he made it 1 kilometer. So put that into perspective.
Yeah.
One day.
Dang. No, but no. Basically, after looking at all this stuff and other stuff, and then yesterday I basically came home. But I thought we might do a live, but we ended up not because you were busy, and then I was just tired. And then, like I said, then I kind of, just check, of course, any updates on this case. Was watching some videos and stuff like that. Then back up to work, and then home today to do a live. So yeah, didn't know about that one, Shermie. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. Okay, gonna hit play.
Oh, they are doing.
It's been raining and they're probably soaking wet, but with the sun today, I'm hopeful that they are feeling warm. We're all filled with pain and sorrow because we just want them found.
I still understand, though. There's no movement here. I mean, I'm showing more grief in my forehead just watching this.
We want them home. Everyone loves them.
That's weird.
Everyone loves them.
She doesn't even say that she loves them. She said everyone loves them. She hasn't once said that I love you. She hasn't made a plea to anyone. If they thought that it was an abduction, wouldn't you want to use that platform that you have to say whatever you need to say to them? If you've got my kids, please return them. and humanize them. So you would say Jack and Lily are beautiful kids and I love them so much, and say how much you miss them or anything. I mean, wouldn't you use that platform to say something to them or to their captor? But they just instead are talking about their story, about what happened, which granted it is the question that they were asked. But if you were on the news and you had the opportunity to address your captor or their captor, wouldn't you take that opportunity to say something?
They're definitely verbal, and they do have possible autism, but it's not extreme autism. It's just they have issues with school, and they don't catch up with the other kids. I just want to remain hopeful. But there's always, in a mother's mind, you're always thinking the worst. Last night was one of the worst nights.
See, that's weird to me too, because
Mind, you're always thinking. In a mother's mind, you're always thinking the worst. In a mother's mind, you're always thinking the worst.
I just feel like she knows something. And that's a very clear point of where her mindset is. Like, you can see that that's the mindset of it. I want to remain hopeful, but I don't know. It's just very strange.
Last night was one of the worst nights. I didn't have them in their beds. Last night was one of the worst nights because I didn't have them in their beds. And I don't want to go through that another night without them.
I really feel like there's small movements in her forehead. There's chin boss-ish.
And
that eye accessing. She's remembering something.
One of the worst nights because I didn't have them in their beds.
I'm feeling like I'm not seeing what I should be seeing right now.
And I don't want to go through that another night without them.
That last sentence really gets to me because it's so about her. It's not about them.
Remain hopeful. But there's always, in a mother's mind, you're always thinking the worst. Last night was one of the worst nights because I didn't have them in their beds. And I don't want to go through that another night without them.
I can't help but feel like there's just so much wrong here, and I don't know. There's so many things that I'm like it's, I don't know.
I'm just staying as hopeful as possible. I want them home. I want to hold them. And I want them home. What happened was we woke up. I heard them playing in the next room beside us. And I was drifting in and out of sleep. And they're not the type of kids we tell them not to go outside on their own. We always make sure that we're out there with them, watching them. And they happen to just get out that sliding door and we can't hear it when it opens. And they were outside playing, but we weren't aware of it at the time. And they were outside playing, but we weren't aware of it at the time.
How are they outside playing, but we weren't aware of it at the time? How does that make sense? How does that make sense?
And next thing we knew, we weren't aware of it at the time. And the next thing we knew, it was quiet. And we get up and I tell him, my partner, Daniel, I tell him, do you hear the kids? And he says, no. And we get up instantly. We're looking outside. We're looking everywhere, yelling for them. And I instantly just call 911. It's just
the fact that she said instantly and then instantly again, right in the same sentence, makes me feel like this wasn't instant at all. It makes me feel like she took her time with it. It makes me feel like this happened a lot earlier than what she's saying. It makes me feel like that's a lie, that it didn't happen on Friday.
I just had the instinct I needed to call. They're both really go-lucky children. They're so sweet. They talk to anyone. They'll talk your ear off. They will speak to anyone in a store. Everyone. They're just extremely sweet kids. I appreciate the huge search effort going on right now. But we've been pushing for an Amber Alert, which hasn't been issued. Not just that they could possibly be abducted, which it is a possibility that they could have been, but just an alert to let everyone know that they are missing.
It's just like them pushing this narrative of them being missing is like so strange when you think about it, because if they thought that somebody took them, then why wouldn't they address that in front of the cameras? Why wouldn't they make an actual address to whoever has them? That's just going to bother me now.
We had people text me saying that they weren't aware someone else let them know that they were missing, and it would just be nice if everyone could be alerted. We thought maybe that we found tracks, but it's still uncertain. It's been raining and they're probably soaking wet, but with the sun today, I'm hopeful that they are feeling warm. We're all filled with pain and sorrow because we just want them found.
We're all filled with pain and sorrow because we just want them found. So it's paying more attention to how they're feeling and what they're dealing with, as opposed to making it about these babies.
Them home. Everyone loves them. They are definitely verbal, and they do have possible autism, but it's not extreme autism. It's just...
And another thing that I mentioned this in my other video, this really bugs me. The fact that the picture that they shared is a picture that is not even clear of them. It feels like it was a lazy job that they did when it comes to, if you're going to send a picture to a news station to have them share the picture of your missing children, why would you have this? Why would you not make it a clear photo of them where you can actually see their features, instead of taking a picture of a framed picture where you can see her phone in the reflection? I just don't understand that. I don't know, that's really bothered me a lot more than, and that was like my first thought was the very first time that I saw these beautiful children. That was the first thing I thought of, was like, what is that? Like, what is all this? Why couldn't you do better for your kids who are missing? Why wouldn't you want the world to know what they look like? Because this is all I see is a phone.
They have issues with school, and they don't catch up with the other kids. I just want to remain hopeful. But there's always, in a mother's mind, you're always thinking the worst. Last night was one of the worst nights because I didn't have them in their beds.
Is pretty much where she stops right there, because that was the end of the video for that one, you guys. Again, I dropped the link to that channel for with Sadie, and I'll do it one more time again. So please, if you're not subscribed, go subscribe. I know that she has another video out, so you guys might want to check that one out as well on there. But I agree, Charmaine, about this last part about the picture of the kids. I never really stared at it long enough, but yeah, you can see that there was a phone in it. But so basically, there was a 911 call, and there was ample opportunity for her to get pictures, because basically, she was saying that she had pictures, and they basically wanted to bring her to a spot where she could send them off, the pictures, because that's in the dispatch audio over there. But before I get into this anymore, Ben, it's been a minute.
Where have you been?
I know where Ben. I was expecting the last couple lives. I'm like, where's Ben? Ben. I think he's like pretending he's working and stuff like that. Anyways, Ben, great to see you. That's my online, probably third husband, even though I have a husband. But my husband, he's okay with all this, right, Ben? You know that. Anyways, Ben and Sharon Parker, best mods ever. Anyways, thank you, Ben. It's nice to see you. It's been a minute. But it's been my fault, because I hadn't done a live for about 6 weeks up until a few days ago, when we were, this is like the 4th live on this case so far. And I see that, like I said, Ryan's talking about, Dylan. So we'll have to take a look at that as well. Rainbow, thank you very much for, all the messages that you're putting in there as well. Now, I seen Rainbow say something about where it was, he heard the sliding door. Is that like in an article?
Yeah.
Because it looked like she was copying the article.
The thing that you've been highlighting, I think that's the article that I couldn't find it, and she tried to link it. It wouldn't link. So apparently in this article, he said that he heard the door, and I believe it said right after Lily popped her head in right before they departed, which is and completely goes against what he was saying last week. So I would love to see the article.
Yeah, we'll take a go. I didn't see anything, but then I got home from work, literally had to make a thumbnail, get ready for the live, and grab the stuff that I was pulling up on there again. So, it takes a team to always gather information, and different stuff like that. So that's very appreciative, you guys, because, me and Charmaine, I totally believe in doing, my homework and trying to search out everything. The other day, I put up a video of like Henry Joseph Brooks, which is Malea's father, her biological father, the one that said he was a tracker. Why didn't you tell me about this baby? I put out the thing, but that was, so I had seen it on Plunder originally, and Plunder is a great channel to go to. That's always compactive information. If you guys haven't heard of Plunder, that's Paula from that channel. But I seen her have this picture of this ID, right, of Malea's kind of like whatever it was, driver's license or whatever. But anyways, on it you could see that she was 27 years old. A lot of people didn't know the age. Anyways, so Malaya has this old Instagram that's still up there, that kind of, I think, stops around 2016, 15 area. But that picture she had put on her Instagram. But anyways, it clearly shows her date of, I believe her birth date is February 23rd of 1998 for that. So I basically kind of was just trying to show people like who's who in the zoo of people. And again, I guess this one channel, Shinad Cha 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 Speaks, that had put out a picture that supposedly of the biological dad, Cody Lee Sullivan. Again, I'm not going to put up that picture myself because I haven't confirmed that that actually is him, but the chances are it is. But again, if you want to go to her channel, she put a video out with his picture on it. But I just don't want to put out something and that could potentially ruin somebody's life if it's not truly them. But I do kind of believe that that is the picture of him because I have seen that face already. So I'm probably thinking it is. But I just kind of like to do a lot of the digging, right? Searching around in Canada. So for anyone that is coming in or whatever, Charmaine and myself were from, well, Charmaine's half in Alberta, half in BC right now. She's in beautiful British Columbia along with me. I'm from the lower mainland over here in basically the Vancouver area. Charmaine's up in the mid area up there. I'm not sure if you want, well, we've said it enough, right? You're up there in, go ahead.
Shuswap country.
Shuswap country, yeah. So we're on the west coast side of Canada over here. Again, we follow true crime. Most of the true crime that we follow is in United States because obviously there's an abundance. There's a never-ending stop of cases in United States, absolutely. But there's horrific cases all around the world that are happening every day, every moment, and all that stuff. What was I gonna say? I'm gonna play this in a moment, and some people might have seen it already. Some people might have not have. It's for a little over 4 minutes long. Again, please hit the like and the share button.
Listen. Like chat is going. We're talking a little bit about what Daniel's been saying, and if all of this is legitimately in, and I don't not believe you, Rainbow, 100%. He is now contradicting everything that he was saying last week. He's now today published a interview saying completely different things. Like, I gotta find that interview. I can't say too much longer here tonight, but I'm gonna find that interview for tomorrow or something about the sliding door, about whatever else there was. I don't know.
Well, again, hopefully, let me just check my. 1 second. Let me just. Rainbow, did you by chance send it to my Gmail? Let me just go over to. Oh, come on. Normally it will say which email, and then it says add account. What do you mean add account? You know which account.
So, Mark, the last we heard was Mom is somewhere between 30 minutes and an hour away from the area. And then today I read that her and her mom went to Ontario, but that's not confirmed by anybody. But I mean, the bottom line is she's not in the search area or involved in the search. She's cooperating with the RCMP from what we've heard.
As for Flint Farmer, just quickly, side note, Flint Farmer, yeah, you know what? We all know that that guy's as guilty as crap, okay? But obviously they didn't have enough evidence to convict him. It's a very sad story for the Karina McClurkin case that he got off on all those charges. But it's one of those things, if there wasn't a preponderance of evidence, and this story was a long one, it's like Delphi. It happened just before Delphi murders. And Karina McClurkin, you know, the grandmother had been looking for her for 5 years just to locate where her body was. Finally, Karina McClurkin, 2 years ago, basically, was brought home. Her body, her remains were found, and Flint Farmer was arrested. And unfortunately, just recently, he was found not guilty of those charges. But it's one of those things. It's kind of like O.J. Simpson getting off. You know darn well he did it. You know darn well that, if the glove don't fit, then just acquit, stuff like that. And you just know it's a crock of shit. That's how I feel about that case as well, is when you know somebody truly is guilty, and then through lack of evidence and all that crap that goes on in the court systems, they get off. Very, very shameful. Now, Charmaine, I know you said you got to get going. Do you need to head off now?
Yeah, pretty quick, but the link that I posted is the one, the paragraph is about, I'll say 3/4 of the way down the page. But yeah, they published this article that says he's...
the Halifax News.
Wow.
Okay, let's take a look, people. Stop screen. We'll go to that instead right now. and see what all this is saying. So RCMP, people closer to the two children. Okay. So let's see. Halifax says members of two children missing are among the those identified for formal interviews as police investigate the siblings' disappearance. So we all know that part about 188 tips. Let's see. Daniel Robert Martell, who described himself as the missing children's stepfather, told the Canadian press on May 7th that he voluntarily attended a 4-hour interview with major crime investigations due to the day prior and submitted his smartphone to the police for examination. I've been cooperating 100%, or I've been 100% cooperating. I gave my phone. I offered to the drug test. I offered the lie detector test. I offered them everything, he said in the interview. In an early interview on May 5th, he said he and the children's mother, Maleha Brooks Murray, had been together for more than 2 years and moved into the trailer in the community about 2 years ago. He said he and Brooks Murray had a 16-month-old infant, Meadow. Martell said he was in the bedroom with his partner and their baby was when he was last saw. Sorry, let me just rephrase that. When he last saw Lily and Jack on the morning on May 2nd. He recalled that Lily was wearing pink top when she had poked her head in the door of the bedroom prior to departing. Minutes later, he heard the sliding door that leads onto the backyard open and close. Martell said he estimated within a few minutes he set out to find the children, driving his vehicle on the back roads and looking in culverts for them without success. Brooks Murray left the home the day after the search began, ending communication with Martell, and has been staying with her mother in Wentworth, Nova Scotia. RCMP have said that on the Tuesday at around 10 a.m., they received a report that the children were missing at the time, and they believe the siblings had wandered away from their home from Gairloch Road. The ground search. Okay, so basically it's that paragraph right there about he heard. So what do you, Charmaine, do you think that the article got it wrong, City News? Or because that's the first time
It's possible. We heard his own words saying that they didn't hear the door, and he assumed it was about 20 minutes, and that's not how this reads to me at all. So
Right.
maybe they misquoted him, but I don't think so. Like, they're reputable and mainstream media, you know? Like, I don't know, man. Did he change his story?
Well, that's just the thing now. So the thing is that one of the things that I learned a lot from the Nicola Bully case is throughout all the news sources, there was different information said, inaccurate, a news source, like, and we're talking about again what you would call reputable, newspapers in a sense that are reporting. And if I went back, because that's what I did, because there was so many inconsistencies to what the article said versus, so you didn't know which one was true. So that's one thing I definitely learned. So is it plausible that this article just got it wrong? Because it's like the same things being said, but something slightly in a different way. So I don't know if this article is got it wrong because this doesn't sound to me like it's a new interview as much as it's like a repeating interview or a repeating thing of his of what has actually happened so far. So I'm having a hard time with this because they both said that they didn't hear the door, that it was a silent door. I can't see him switching that up and making himself look guilty like that to all of a sudden go to hearing it. Plus, it was the fact that they were in and out, and he said approximately 20 minutes later. So I'm going to have a hard time believing this article because of the fact is that I know that people, as the story goes on, there's going to be a lot of inconsistencies in the things that are being said. And that's how I'm seeing this right now at the moment. Not to say that I actually believe Daniel, not him is more believable than Malaya, but in saying that, I'm not so willing to believe that all of a sudden he upped and made himself look guilty as shit. I don't think that he's that stupid to remember to say that he heard a sliding door versus not. It doesn't make sense to me. Not this many days in to say that.
Yeah.
So
And I mean, usually if enough people come out and and catch that inconsistency, a reputable news agency will come out and say, edit, and then correct what they got wrong. So
But
fair enough.
a lot of times they don't. A lot of times they don't, Charmaine. Like I said, Nicola Bully case really showed me how inconsistent. There were so many inconsistencies with reporting. And like I said, the longer it went on, the more inconsistencies. And it's not like they were bad, like I said, news channels or whatever you want to call it, online publications and stuff like that. It's just that a lot of the facts got twisted. And this is so again, I personally am not going to actually believe. I believe that they have said it wrong. And stuff like this is what's going to spiral the internet into even more, blaming in the sense, because now they're going to read this, take it as truth, when I personally myself believe that this is a misprint, misquote of what he said, because it's just all repetitive of what we know so far. I can't see him changing his story from silent door to I heard them through the door. It's just, as much as people can lie, I don't think that this is one of those cases where he forgot what he said and then changed it up to I heard them. That would look totally suspicious. And then to say in a few minutes, obviously the kids would have been found in a few minutes if that was the case, So yeah,
absolutely.
So I appreciate the fact of bringing this to awareness, Rainbow, for that part of it for sure. Just as for the believability of those words, I don't. And unfortunately, this is what causes the rumor mill just to spiral and false information due to negligence on this article, in a sense, because I believe this article is negligent. I don't think that they got their facts straight.
Honestly, some of my favorite lives are the ones where we find inconsistencies and fake news and wrong posts and, just terrible people spreading lies and misinformation, and not so much call them out, but just, spread the awareness that this has been debunked, so.
Yeah.
Thanks for bringing it up.
Yeah. Because the thing is that if I was just to go by like this simplicity of how I would say about Malaya and Daniel has the most authentic of the interviews. He's done enough. Now, Daniel could totally be deceptive to us, but he's definitely coming off as more sincere and more authentic. Does it mean that he is actually? No, absolutely not, right? Because I keep looking at the morning time as we. So if they're having this story about we, why did Malala leave that night and block him and call herself single now and end their relationship? There's something going on there. I, at this moment, don't believe there was a party, because somebody would come out of the woodwork already to sit there and say that they were at this party. Anyone that has children knows that they would anonymously, they would provide information. That hasn't shown any fruition to be truthful either. We don't know when the kids truly disappeared because we don't have that information. But Malaya's interview, absolutely, 1,000%, 1,000, 2,000, 5,000 billion. Her interview is red flag city from start to finish. With Daniel, there's definitely things in there that make me feel like he's not being truthful. And it's his eye contact. It's sometimes the way he's saying it. But if I was to believe anyone between the two, it would be him. But I can't believe either of them, because everything about that day was we. So if it was you guys together, like thick as thieves in the morning, and then she's gone at nighttime, there's something going on there far beyond what we're visually seeing. Whether it's her blaming him, for something that's, whether it was the last straw of the relationship, whether she started blaming Daniel, like this is all your fault. The mother gets involved. But the one biggest thing is of all this too, you guys, is that we haven't heard shit all about the brother or the mother, because if the kids are out in the backyard, you'd know damn well that that grandmother would have heard children. Why have they never mentioned that at all? Like, the only thing that even came close to a mention of anything was when Malaya said, but we didn't know that at the time. So the only way that that could make sense, that she's saying that, is if that her mother-in-law, or whatever you want to call her, that lives on the property, which is Daniel's mom, Janie McKenzie, and then the brother, Justin Martell. So unless they had information that they said, yeah, we heard the kids outside playing, but we didn't think nothing of it, you know, I'm not buying this whole scenario. It smells fishy, you know, type of thing. It seems fishy to the ear. Grandma always says if it doesn't sound right. But anyways, that's my feelings on this case so far. But knowing full well this is only speculation and my assumptions and my feelings about it, right? I'm not buying this whole. I'm not buying the whole that there's no involvement in the family at this point myself. But I'll always remain open-minded to look at all the different things and what makes sense. But what makes sense to me at this point is that there is parental involvement in the disappearance of these two children. And that's because the red flags are all pointing in that direction to me. I'm not seeing abduction because of the RCMP saying that. They're trying to give us the narrative. Anyways, Charmaine, I know you got to get going, and I'm going to play another clip from the news. But do you want to say any last words before you head off here?
No, I'm going to be listening, and I'll be in and out of chat, but I'll see you probably tomorrow or whenever there's an update or Sunny wants to go live again. But yeah I'll be watching.
Tomorrow. I have Thursday, Friday, Saturday off.
Okay.
So
have a good night, everybody. I'll be in chat. Talk soon. Bye.
Thanks, Charmaine. Love you. Bye-bye.
Love you.
Okay, so I wanted to play this for you guys.
More now on the search for the missing Sullivan children, and we're joined by CTV public safety analyst Chris Lewis. Chris, during your tenure as commissioner of the Ontario Provincial Police, of course, you would have seen similar cases to this. What struck you about that RCMP update yesterday and what they had to say? Was there anything?
Yeah, absolutely there was, Todd. And I saw many searches throughout my career through all ranks across the broad expanse of Ontario. And many of them ended well and many of them didn't. This is a heartbreaker, absolutely. But what struck me the most, I think, is that I left it with a feeling that the RCMP know more than they're telling us. And I get that. You can't tell the public everything. And the detective staff sergeant, I believe, the major crime fellows said it very well. I just can't tell you certain things right now. Well, if there's certain things you can't tell, then ultimately there's leads they're following up, in my view.
Okay.
Who, when, where, and why is another issue, but they're on to something.
We heard they don't think the siblings could be alive. Was that something of a surprising admission?
It was an absolute shock to me, to be honest, because I'm thinking after 5-6 days, there's a good chance they're still alive. The weather hasn't been that bad. I've seen searches where people have been 2 weeks in the bush under horrendous conditions. One man was legally blind and still alive. So you just never give up. So to make that statement also makes me think that they're suspecting something more than a couple of children lost in the bush.
Okay. The RCMP said there are spots they want to revisit. What does that tell you?
Well, it tells me there, obviously, as they said, there's places they want to research. So, but where are those places? Are they within the area they searched? So are they going back to some specific dense areas to have an even closer look? Because, quite frankly, in dense bush, you could walk by a child and not see them. And that's the sad reality of it all. So is that the plan, or are there other locations that they want to search within some other area, but not kind of an expanded search through that dense bush?
We heard that major crimes is involved. Should that tell us anything, or is that sort of de rigueur?
I think it's standard that investigators be involved in parallel with any search, particularly of children, not a lost hunter, but two children that shouldn't be in the bush. There'd be a search or investigation to say, Was there some neglectful thing? I'm not suggesting there was. How did two little children get into the bush? Or was it something else? Was there a crime involved? Were they taken by somebody known or unknown? Etc. And there's all kinds of terrible possibilities that come to mind here. But obviously, major crime is there. They've had the big gun there, not a constable, detective, and a detachment. And so they're onto something here.
On that point, the stepfather has told us he suspects they might have been abducted. Does that trigger anything at the police level? How do they react to a statement like that?
Well, I mean, they'd be on it absolutely, because why do you think that? Who do you think did it? Who had a reason to do it? What makes you say that? Because at that point, as a father or stepfather or mother, you'd be thinking, oh my God, we have to find them. Where are they? Not suddenly out of the blue, I think somebody abducted them. I mean, that's kind of a bizarre statement. But people are people, and they do say different things when they're under stress. So, it's certainly a red flag, but ultimately, what does that mean in the big scheme of things? Who knows at this point?
Yeah. We heard police say they don't think the children could have gone too far, certainly not beyond that search area.
And my thoughts there, Todd, are that these are trained searchers in physical shape and proper equipment and clothing on, and they struggled to get to a certain point over a number of days. So in their minds, at the very least, they're thinking those kids could not have got further than point X. So we're going to go back and research. But then again, of course, there's the investigative piece, and we don't know where all that's going. But there's more to come in the next few days, I believe.
Public safety analyst for CTV, Chris Lewis, always good to have your insight on these kind of things. We appreciate it.
You too, Todd. Always my pleasure.
We'll take a break. We'll be back with much more.
Okay, so just wanted to play that for you guys. 1 second here. I'm going to bring back up. Look how I left his eyes. Stop screen. I'm going to bring back up Plunder, and I'm only going to Plunder because she has the press conference on there, and we're just going to watch a little piece of that again. But if you guys don't know what Plunder's, like I said, really great. She puts a lot of information into her videos. I noticed a lot of people using the dispatch audio because Plunder had 48 hours worth of dispatch audio, broke it down into about 30 minutes of the actual stuff that she figured had any importance to it. So again, anyone that's not subscribed to Plunder, please do. Like I said, if you want somebody that really compacts a ton of information into a case, it's absolutely Plunder for that one. So let me just present. So we're just going to go to a piece of that press conference there. Plunder, where are you? Gotta find you. Thank you. Okay, right here. Lily and Jack. I think this is the spot. Again, if you guys haven't liked or subscribed or shared, please do so. You don't have to subscribe, but if at least like and share, if you could, bring awareness to the case. And just quickly, I'll read a couple comments here from you guys. Ryan says, a lot of people think the kids got into dope stash and OD and they panicked. Well, that was something that was on my mind too, but again, Ryan, it's usually that if people are at a party, if there was truly a party held, trust me, like that we all know that people want to get their, either try to be helpful. They'll tell a YouTube creator, they won't tell the police, but they'll tell a YouTube creator and stuff like that to let them know, hey, look, I was at the home that day and, I saw the kids or something, right? But the thing is, there's been Zippo about that we know of. So that was kind of what I thought was perhaps the party from the night before that Maleha was blaming Daniel for possibly leaving out some drugs. The children got into it, ended up ODing, stuff like that, because that's like, that would be a reason to, you don't want to lose the baby, your ass is grass at this point. So you got to try to cover your tracks, try to make a story work for you. Could be the case still. Who knows truly what this case is going to turn out to be. They might still potentially find these children somewhere in the woods. Maybe somehow they were overlooked. What's the chances? Highly unlikely. With all the drones and all the heat sensors and everything like that, how far could these children truly have gotten to be honest with you. They're 4 and 6. I know Charmaine was talking about how the 2-year-old that she was talking about in Alberta, gone for 8 hours and got 1 kilometer, right? But the thing is that at this point, 4 and 6, I don't think that they would have. I honestly not that girl. She has a screech that could probably hear a few provinces over. To be honest with you, I mean that girl has a screech that she is known for, like the bus driver says. I just can't see it. I believe that in the press conference when they're talking about why they scaled back, because they don't believe that the children are out in the woods. They don't believe the children were abducted. So if they don't believe that, where does that kind of leave you at the end of the day? Well, it leaves them kind of, digging hardcore into it, maybe perhaps waiting for Cellbrite information to come back, the cadaver dogs, to give a scent if there's any death that was children were put into a vehicle and stuff like that. So I just think that there's going to be answers for this case soon myself. Now let's see, is it possible? Well, yeah, it is possible that several things are possible. It always is. Several things can be true at the same time. Absolutely. But what, Ryan, but where are the babies' bodies if so? Well, that's just it. Either they're out in the woods, perhaps, like hypothetically, either they're out in the woods, dug up in a grave somewhere, perhaps, did just for speculation here, but during the time, because remember, she says she called 911 immediately. He says he hopped in the truck immediately, right? Was a time used to hop in the truck to, take bodies somewhere, and he's trying to say that, well, and then his GPS would show that his vehicle's perhaps looking around, when maybe one of those spots that he was looking around, was to dump off of the bodies and stuff like that, put them in water, put them wherever, could possibly be. Not saying it's true, but those are thoughts that definitely go through your mind, because they're both saying, I immediately did this, I immediately did that. The story from the mother isn't meshing, but yet he's putting himself out there to the public, right? And talking and doing interviews and trying to either is or not give authentic type of tears and true anguish and stuff like that. But I'm not buying him yet. He can't sell me because of the whole we thing, this whole we mourning thing. And they're trying to say the same story. But if you think about Malayla there, like I said, her story seems contrived. And if they're both talking about this silent door, less that article, the silent door, it's again strange, right? Strange, because it's almost like two people talking about what they're going to say, and then they both happen to bring into the equation during an interview about, that the door, you don't hear it, it's silent type of thing. So those are red flags to me. And again, why haven't we heard Daniel talk about that his mom heard the children in the backyard, or his brother? Why aren't we hearing anything about that? So it's like with him, there's things being left out that should be said. With her, it's just a whole red flag, like red flag, freaking redder than our freaking Canadian symbol here. Absolutely. When it comes to her, if they are unalive, they could be. Who knows where? Daniel said he drove off right after he noticed them gone. Well, see, Rainbow, exactly. We're on the same path of thinking there, and I didn't even see your comment at that point. Did you notice how clean the four-wheeler is of the brothers on there? Well, again, right? Who knows where the truth is? But there's something that happened that day that Malayla left, and that she put herself as single. And so there's something there. There's something that she's guilty of knowledge, but knows what happened, and that she's blaming him because he said that her family, Daniel said himself that he wants to take the lie detector test because basically the people in her family are accusing him, and the social media saying that he did something. So he's saying, give us all tests, give us all drug tests, right? So that's my point. That's my biggest point. If what he's saying is that her family is blaming him, right? And if they were both there that morning and were sleeping and, kumbaya together with baby Meadow, how could the family turn around and blame Daniel if they were both there and the kids, and they were both in the bedroom? So where does that blame come from then? Of saying that blaming him as if he had something to do with it. So something is wrong with that whole picture right there, right? It doesn't make sense, because you can't it's like having your cake and eat it too. We were all doing this. We got text messages wondering why this. Poof, gone, single, and no relationship anymore. And the family's blaming Daniel. Why? Why? What truly happened? Right? What truly did happen? That's very sus. So is he playing us for fools to try to believe in him? Or is he being authentic? Well, time was going to tell very soon, I think. But I wonder how far the sawmill is that he works. Right. I haven't looked either. Apparently he works like there one day a week or something like that. Shouldn't be too hard to Google that, right? Where's the closest sawmill? Maybe the brother got rid of the bodies on his four-wheeler, then washed it. It's so clean. Again, I think that this story is going to come to a very soon conclusion about these children. I pray. And plunder, absolutely. Okay. I want to know the accurate timeline, how long he was out searching on his own before police came involved. I think he's lying. Right. Well, again, I'm not under the impression myself that he's being so truthful. I definitely have a stink eye towards him as well. But if we were to compare interviews, it's almost like apples to oranges about how hers went and what he's portraying. Hers honestly was just sucked. Yeah, absolutely. Right. So again, is this all a contrived thing about exactly immediately I did this? Immediately I called 911 because it was just in my, my gut, the one where I'm not tearing up. Not one tear strolled down her eye during her interview, right? Not one freaking tear. We saw barely, but we actually never saw a tear stroll down her eyes. Come on now. You have children, two of them missing. They've been gone a full night. I just hope they're warm today. Just hope they're warm. It's just red flag, lack of emotions. Sorry, it's just not equating. And that's the part. So, it's kind of like reminds me a little bit of Sebastian's case, where it could be the most innocent, guilty people you ever did see. Good night, true crime housewife. Yeah, but usually if they mention water, like, how it goes, right? You always look for the things that are said and look for the things that are not being said. But no one's going to guide you into water if they know the children are in water, right? Because you're always going to try to avoid saying things that actually truly have something to do or where the kids are and stuff like that. So to me, you're not going to talk about water if you know the kids are actually in water. You're going to avoid trying to say that unless it's in a conversation that he's having with the police or something like that. But typically you try to avoid anything that would point to you or in your direction. Yeah, the sun is out today. I hope that they're dry. Yeah, just freaking snuggling up with the little bunnies there, in a car, in the trunk, so warm, with a blanket around them. Just hope that they're okay. Hope that they're warm. Actually, don't even hope that they're okay. She didn't even say that. Just, like it's all these oddities to what she's saying. That just shows someone that's, again, trying to sell a bullshit story. It's not coming across as genuine. Everyone looks for genuineness when they're watching interviews of the parents, because we all know that cases involve a lot of times family members. So whenever you're watching anyone's interviews, you're definitely looking for signs. But we're not talking about 1 or 2, 3, 4, 5. We're talking about a whole interview that's full of red flags from start to finish, word for word, everything she said, no tears, no nothing. Kind of like what Sadie was saying, like I got more emotion watching this than what's in her forehead. So that says a lot. It does say a lot. I don't think, like, either you're an ice cold parent that has literally no soul, or you're just bullshitting. And you're just, again, bad liars shine through. And to me, this is someone that, and it's not like every other day, like, oh, let's just get rid of 2 kids today. Oh, let's just get rid of 2 kids, right? It's not like a sociopath. We're talking about, people when they're like Chris Watts, when they start smirking as they're begging for their wife, and the kids, I just want to see them in their beds. I'll never be able to do that. And the smirk that comes across his face, I just want her to come home. They avoid saying their names. Barry Morphew, prime example, avoided saying Suzanne Morphew's name. It was very rare he would say his wife's name. Why? Because obviously, again, it's the guilt within that you start trying to, put down there. But then with Barry Morphew, even though he hasn't been charged with Suzanne's murder, okay, guilty as shit. But anyways, what happened with Barry though, especially, is that you start saying things, and the more you say and the more you talk, the more the inconsistency and past tenses come out. And that's exactly what was happening. He couldn't, because he has never taken someone's life, then it's those little subtle things that you say that you don't realize that you've said them in past tense or said them in a way that's a red flag in a sense. But people that are on the outside looking in will pick those things up, whereas they don't. And they're kind of like telling the story as if it sounds believable, but they're not catching all these red flags that everybody else is seeing. Barry Morphew is just a prime example of that. Okay, I thought you said blizzard, but that's like blizzard. And I started thinking about a Dairy Queen blizzard because of that word, to be honest with you. He goes fishing and he wouldn't be busy at the lakes right now, just thinking. Yes, Rainbow, that's right. I think Daniel speaks from visuals he's seen, waist deep in water. Oh, yeah, right. Even kind of like when he's talking again, right? Many times he's talking about himself, about, I just screamed basically, till I lost my voice. I was running in waist deep water, someone that kind of is, again, promoting. It's almost like when somebody's gloating about themselves and what they've done. That's how always that stuff rubs me, right? When a child's missing, and the way it's being said. But it's almost like, I got to tell you this part. I got to tell you, I was waist deep in the water. I got to tell you, I was almost out of breath as I was running. Stuff like that kind of bugs me as well. I am hopeful it will be solved. I believe it will be. I really don't think. Brian, that's blizzard thing to say, which including any plea for help or worry for Jack and Lily. Okay, hold on. I know you guys are all busy over talking over there. And I want to play this part of this out. I think this is the part that I want to be at, is what's right here. Okay, guys. So let me just hit play.
And major crime is also here. And having not found these children, having done it,
I think
very
this part I
thorough
want to be at. I'm not sure.
can you tell us like the role of major crime in this and what you can tell us about that investigation?
Rob McCammon, Robert, and MCCAMON is the last name. So major crime became involved very early in the investigation. We're able to bring in some specialized knowledge and skill sets, and we help with the information management and decision making. As we scale back, as we've identified, there are certain areas that are going to be relooked at that could contain a confined area perhaps, and maybe need some more specialized search areas. But I'll leave that to the search crews to expand on. And we're going to continue pursuing any leads or information that comes in, and the stuff that we do have. We have engaged in all areas of the RCMP. All tools that are available to us are being considered and engaged when appropriate.
Do you have a follow-up?
Yeah, as a follow-up, that I guess the general population looks at it and says, you've searched very thoroughly this area.
Mm-hmm.
You would have found them if they were there, which then makes people, certainly on social media, people are assuming, rightly or wrongly, that there's a criminal element to this.
Sure.
And can you, I know, what can you tell me about that, your work on that potential?
Well, I can't really speculate on the investigation, obviously. That wouldn't be fair to the process. But we are constantly reviewing everything that's been done, looking at all different facets of available information, and we'll make decisions on that. I can't really comment on the details of that, but we will pursue every lead that becomes available and take it to where it needs to go. So.
Thank you. So is there a question? Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Okay, Nicholas again with CBC National News. You at first said it wasn't suspicious. You think the kids just wandered off. Now you're saying every missing person's investigation is considered suspicious. Is it still suspicious? Are there any suspects here?
Again, I'm not going to comment on the details of the investigation, but I will comment when somebody goes missing and we become engaged as any police officer, not just major crime, we will look at all the details and make considerations on the information we have, right? When it comes to a missing person,
I feel like this is the first part when he talks, but it's the second part that I want when he talks. So let me just scroll a little further. It's when he comes back up again. 1 second here. Right, I think right here. Hold on. I think it's going to be right here.
Wondering if you can clarify. We heard major crime has been involved since Sunday. Is that correct?
Saturday morning.
Not him.
Saturday. Okay. So do you believe the children have met foul play?
Do you want to talk?
again, I'm not going to comment on specifics of the investigation. We're going to continue on, and when we get to a point that we've got information that we're able to make any decisions that are able to be public, we'll let you know at that time. But right now, I'm not going to comment on specifics. So.
Okay, so but you don't believe the children are alive any longer?
No, based on the experts and the review of the facts, the inclement weather, the time frames, and their age, the likelihood that they're alive right now is very low.
Okay, and can I just ask one more question about the scaling back of the search? Are you reducing the number of searchers out there, or is it being concentrated just with RCMP now, or how is that looking differently on the ground?
Yeah, absolutely. So the searchers will be finishing at the end of their operational period today, and now it'll come back to the Pictou District RCMP, and we'll make decisions and put in plans of how we move forward.
So rather than having the large presence here, the massive number of searchers on scene every day, searches will be based on information that comes in and specifics in order to make things pointed and specific to areas that are pinpointed or specific to a search need in the area. I believe we've gone through the group for questions at this point. So out of respect for the police officers here and the many searchers who are still there, I'd like to conclude our media availability today. Oh, sorry, is there one person with, sorry, my apologies, sorry.
Alex Terrio, Stinger Radio. You mentioned you're circling back to find clues. You talked about the blueprints. Are there anything you're looking to find, expecting to find, or usually find in these situations?
We're looking for any type of clue, any information to help us out. And then we'll take that information and work forward from that.
Second follow-up, is the blueprint still involved in the search?
On the investigation, obviously, that wouldn't be fair to the process. But we are constantly reviewing everything.
Part that I also, okay, so besides the fact when he said no, that he doesn't believe that children are alive type of thing, right? Just came out and said that. The other part that I was looking for when someone asked him, and he specifically basically said, like, look, if we had that information, we would have put it out to you. What he was talking about was the Amber Alert. But I thought it was in that second part that I played, but maybe I'm wrong. After a while, it all becomes a little bit of muddle. But that's the part where he was basically just kind of like, again, if we believed it was an abduction, we would have put that out to you. But we don't believe it. So, and he was very blunt and clear on saying that. I'll play this again just for a little bit, but I thought it was in the second part when he addressed both of that part, but I could be wrong. I've listened to too many things now that it starts, like I said, mishmashing all together. But let me just see if this is where he says it.
That's been done, looking at all different facets of available information, and we'll make decisions on that. I can't really comment on the details of that, but we will pursue every lead that becomes available and take it to where it needs to go. So.
Thank you. So is there a question? Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Okay, Nicholas again with CBC National News. You at first said it wasn't suspicious, you think the kids just wandered off. Now you're saying every missing person's investigation is considered suspicious. Is it still suspicious? Are there any suspects here?
Again, I'm not going to comment on the details of the investigation, but I will comment when somebody goes missing and we become engaged as any police officer, not just major crime, we will look at all the details and make considerations on the information we have, right? When it comes to a missing person, we have to automatically consider those, are there people that have different charter implications and things like that? So we will automatically start to consider what evidence is pointing us towards a suspicious in nature. Again, I can't comment more than that, but every missing person case, we would approach it from the same process. A methodical collection and review of information with decisions based on that.
And the family has said they believe it's an abduction or they suspect it's an abduction. Are there now any clues or anything leading you to think that might be possible?
If we had any information that led that way and we felt that we could provide anything with the public, we would have done that. We would have got that information out. We're working very closely with the family and we will pursue every avenue. But again, I'm not going to make any specific comments, but anything that would point towards that, we would immediately take steps to address.
See, so he was very clear on that. We would have put it out to the public. We believe that there was any information that made us think that way or go that way. So if Malayla and Daniel, more so Malayla, but both of them, I think, pushing a narrative of abduction, like that's really what they're trying to push for. They're trying to push for that, an abduction, Amber Alert, all these things. Again, basically, it's kind of like Sebastian Rogers' case where, hey, you know what? Our kids, we're such great parents. They know better than to go outside without one of us there, right? Don't believe that for a second. I believe that those children play outside without the supervision in a sense, because maybe they can hear their voices, but I don't buy it for a second on that. But it's one of those things, again, is like they're clearly saying that if there was anything that would have said, hey, you know what, let's issue an Amber Alert. But they're saying, if we would have said, we would have gave that to you. We would have let you guys know that. But that's not where the investigation is leading us. But we, of course, as they have to say, but, we're going to look at every avenue. We're going to, these are typical 101 dummies words that they say, close to my vest, those type of things, right? So, of course, they're going to say that. They're not going to outright go like, well, just so you know, we have a lot of information that's leading to the family involvement. No, they have to have their freaking ducks in a row before any charges will be laid against anyone. Should there be charges laid, right? They have to have the Cellbrite information. They have to have their ducks in a row. They have to put everything into place about a timeline, and if Daniel and Malayla are saying to be truthful, or if it's just a bunch of hog shit at the end of the day, right? So trust me, like I believe something's going to happen in time soon here, but they have to say certain things because they're not going to sit there and tell you all this information that they have. They just aren't. But I think it's very clear that they do not believe that there's an abduction. Why? because they're not stupid, right? They're not stupid. They probably have the information that's telling them otherwise. That's why he's saying we would have issued an Amber Alert should we have felt that that was the direction of the case, but it's not. We've scaled back because basically he even said we would not be scaling back if we actually felt like the children were out there in the woods. But we are going to hone in on specific areas, right? Which means I'm sure we look over certain portions of the woods and certain areas and go back over their tracks, kind of like with Sebastian Rogers, you know. But I won't doubt if this case, my own opinion, is that this comes right back to the home front. We haven't heard anything about the mother, Janie McKenzie, saying that she heard the kids outside. Trust me, unless everyone was comatose and nobody heard the children outside playing, that whole sentence is weird. But the thing is, we don't know the truth. We don't know if there was a party. There's been nobody that's come forward to say that there was, at least not to the public. But that's unusual. People love to give information if they have any, right? It doesn't matter. People love to feed information to channels, YouTube channels, perhaps the police as well. But trust me, they always come out in the woodwork, you know, kind of like the grandmas and that, you know, speaking out in public, and then they take a lot of backlash for things that they're saying or whatever, and then they watch people being attacked. Well, that just goes with the price of a case being in the public eye, you know, and they're not used to it. They don't realize the bunch of vultures and wolves out there that are going to be relentless at saying that this person did this, you're a bad parent, you didn't do this, you know, blah, 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 you're a bad grandma, blah, blah, blah. You know, what about your kid, Cody? You know, he's a piece of crap type of thing, right? All that stuff happens. But the thing is that they're not, unlike us in True Crime, they're not aware just how volatile the internet can be and relentless when it comes to missing children's cases, or about the little psycho people that are out there that cross those barriers and lines out there, you know, whereas we're used to that. We're used to those psycho people and psycho channels and stuff like that do come out of the work. So it's no news to us. But if you're not used to having children abducted in your life, you become a target. The minute you speak, you're a target regardless, you know. But there's no way in heck that the RCMP is going to tell Malayla not to speak about her children and coming back, right? So they might say, you know what, don't talk to YouTube channels or TikTokers and that, you know, speak only to the media, you know, or what da-da-da-da-da. But there's no way someone's going to sit there and say, don't talk about your child, you know, da-da-da. So there's something weird about Malayla going and dissolving the relationship that night, considering they were freaking kumbaya in the morning, or what they're pretending to be, okay? Because again, we don't know if they disappeared Wednesday, Thursday, Tuesday night on from the bus ride, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. We don't know. Never heard that happen before. All right. I think you guys, I totally appreciate you guys joining us for this live tonight. I do. I don't think that there's anything more that I feel like I need to cover tonight. Plunder, check her out. Again, just all I ask myself is please always try to follow information that's either out of the RCMP, either out of the, you know, the postings that they put out, that whether it's truth or not, out of the parents' mouths, out of posts that are perhaps a family member's post to do with them. But when it comes to anonymous posts and speculative posts and all these things, please take it with a grain of salt and try to do your due diligence and not reposting false information. Like the other day, someone posted that the children had been found, blah, blah, blah. Then there was another post saying that Daniel had been arrested and everything was blamed on him, as if, you know, Malaya was innocent of everything and stuff like that. Again, false posting, false lies. It's very detrimental to cases. People, bottom line is, it hurts people. And that's why they follow these types of cases. because usually there's something that resonates about children because you have children yourself, that something sounds fishy about the mom's interview, but something brings you into true crime, whether you're fascinated with stories, whatever the case may be, right? But, I always think that we have to do our due diligence as best as we can to at least put out the right information, because the minute it gets bogged down, like the Delphi case, your head starts spinning, because people that come into this, you know what, this reminds me, I want to say something too about anyone who's following the Brian Koberger case knows that there was this audio. So on our channel back during the time, there was this piece of audio that people derived as that they could hear, who was it? That they could, the Idaho 4 case, okay? That they could hear screaming the dog and blah, blah, blah. Now, granted, there was so many similarities. Now, we had the person on our channel that actually put out that video, but the video wasn't from the Idaho 4 case, which she had said. The video was from her own Ring camera to show how much you can hear from this distance and stuff like that. She had clearly put that on her TikTok. Now, unfortunately, she spoke Spanish. So one of our good friends from the channel who speaks Spanish was interpreting for her. But it was just to set the record straight. But no matter how many times you want to set the record straight, all these people are coming across a case and they have no clue that that was already cleared up. And it wasn't cleared up by the neighbor that owns that Ring camera as well. That was said to have, gave that video out of the screams. Thing is, and then people start posting it, a year later, acting like it's truth again. And then it just becomes this whirlwind of a circle that happens. It starts diluting the case. People get confused. What's true? What's not? I myself am a firm believer that it's either coming from the horse's mouth or the police's mouth, or someone that's within the circle. I always look at that stuff for the information. Anything outside of that is just rumor mills, possibilities, things that don't make sense, things with a grain of salt, because people do want to insert themselves in cruel ways in cases and try to put misinformation out there. And they're having a chuckle at it because everyone's falling for that post and they're having a big giggle because they don't give two fucks about children or two fucks about the cases. So just always be careful when you're reposting information and stuff like that. That's all I'm going to ask. Doesn't mean you guys are going to do it, but we have to try at least, like if you're a respectful kind of content creator, a person watching or in true crime, just try to be very mindful of the stuff that you're reposting. And if it doesn't seem like it's true and whatever, don't repost it. I don't like to repost stuff that's a bunch of bullshit. We might go over it sometimes and call it out and say that it's bullshit so that people don't fall for it. But anyways, that's all I can say about that part. I'm kind of like a one case type of person myself. Sebastian Rogers has been a big case for me. The Delphi case and stuff like that. I'm not one of those channels that covers this case, that case, this case, that case. I like to stay focused on one thing at a time, because when I put my all into something, I like to give it my full attention. I don't like other channels do that stuff. I don't. If I'm following a case, if I'm covering a couple cases, like I bring in Sebastian's case, I might sometimes cover live if this case still goes on with Sebastian's case as well, and talk about both cases in the live. But I'm not one of these ones that goes, here, let me talk about Karen Reed. Here, let me talk about the Idaho case. Let me talk about this and that and stuff like that. It's my personal way. I just kind of like to focus on one or two at best, knowing that there's tons of cases out there. But I will look into this Dylan case that you're talking about, Ryan, for that. Well, I'm so glad for any new subscribers. And thank you, Ryan. Thank you, Rainbow. Thank you, Ben. Thank you, Sharon. Ben, it's really great to see you. Thank you, Mark. Mark brought me a taco. Well, coffee, but it says taco and purchase it. So thank you again for that mark the other day. Shemaine, love you, girl. Thank you very much for that Mother's Day gift that you sent me. The lavender and the tumbler there. Other than that, chances are I'll see how it goes because I do work tomorrow till 5:30, but I do have Thursday, Friday, Saturday off. So I'll see how tomorrow goes. So if I don't do a live tomorrow, I'll definitely do a live on Thursday for sure. Other than that, it was a pleasure. Prayers to Jack and Lily. And unfortunately, I don't feel like they are still alive. That would be wishful thinking. But I'm a person that looks at the glass as half full. So I would love for the fact that they are still alive somewhere in somebody's hands. But honestly, that would go against how I'm feeling inside. And it's an absolute bunch of sadness. Anything to do with children just hurts the heart. Simple as that. Okay, guys. So yeah, bless you guys. Thanks again for being here and joining us. You guys take care, and we'll see you either tomorrow night or the night after. And anyone watching this that's new to the channel, again, please hit subscribe if you want to watch more of this content and get notifications. If not, at least please hit the like and the share button, perhaps, for Jack and Lily. And of course, keeping Sebastian's name out there as well. All right, guys, take care. Oh, I just got to find my outro. Where's my outro? Oh, it's like my hand's too lazy to scroll down. Oh, here it is. Good night, guys.
A Norfolk night, the world is cold. We stand surrounded.